God, I'm so red today. Need to.
Hello and welcome to the party. Let me get all of my stuff sorted out here.
There's a cat above me. What the shit?
Well, we aren't going to do any rolls this time, so.
That's you. I got dice right here. Stop me. Here I go. I'm rolling dice.
Yes, tonight we're not actually playing masks, but we will be talking one last time about this lovely game that we did called the A.E.G.I.S Shield of Earth. We'll be talking about our characters. Got a few questions, of course, in chat. If you have questions, feel free to post them. I will try to keep up with them. But first, we have, here we go, some lovely sponsors. We have Tabletop Loot for all of your dice and gaming needs. We have Devin Rue, the Mistress of Maps. You can find those amazing maps over on ruing.com. So Nerdware, our official merch sponsor. You can go over there and use the code WELCOME to get 10% off. And our new sponsor, Welcome to the Party, is now proudly sponsored by Roll20, the virtual tabletop that runs straight out of your web browser. Everything you need to play with your friends is ready at the click of the mouse, from click to roll character sheets to built-in video and voice chat. You can even upload your own maps, tokens, get all that and more with the free basic account on roll20.net. You can sign up over there. It's what we used for all of this game. They got a really good character sheet for masks. It's great. It's very helpful when running games online. That we have a Discord. So if you want to learn more about running games online, you can come hang out and have lots of fun in the Discord. And of course we have the Patreon. We want to use our Patreon to help support our channel and support artists and other members of the community, writers and more. And that means one last time we'll get to introduce ourselves, but this time tell us who you are and who you played, starting with Star.
Hey, I'm Adam, and I played Roderick Wainwright.
Michi.
Oh,
Muted.
one moment. He's having some technical issues, let's just say.
Hi, I'm Michi, and I play
Yeah.
the Bull Playbook. Yeah. Oh no.
Maybe you're back? Let's see who you were again one
Am
more
I
time.
back though? I am Michi. Find me on Twitter at MichiSars, and I played Dreamcat, who was the Bull Playbook.
Fox.
Hey, my name is Fox Barrett at Fox_Barrett on Twitter, and I played Mallory Alice Graves, aka Malice. I was doomed, and then I was a protege.
Wild.
Yes, hi, I'm Wild Engineer, or Wild. I played Cliff Johnson, who started out as a nomad and became a Doom.
Yet another name.
Yes, Jetpack Man.
Should have been said like that from the beginning.
Jet Pac-Man.
And Rain.
I am Rain Hayes, and I played Jacqueline Morris, who was also called Shadowcast, and was a Scion and transformed for one
Let
episode.
answer the first question, which was, what the hell was her real name?
Jacqueline Morris.
I don't remember if that said. It must have, right? Oh,
No.
wow.
Nope, everybody called her Shadow.
Yeah.
Didn't know Dreamcast's name until the last episode, so. Actually, yeah, that's my second question. Follow up: does Temple have a last name?
Phillips.
Temple Phillips. Okay.
Yeah, and so spoilers. Penny's name is just Penny Phillips.
Okay.
So.
Pee-pee.
Oh, Dreadful's not a middle name.
First question. This one is for everyone. What were the inspirations for your characters?
Wants to go
Whoever wants
first.
to start.
I can go first. Straight up, I just wanted to make the Rocketeer. You know,
The Mark.
I mean, maybe if Rocketeer went grimdark, that's probably what this would have been.
If it was a Paul Verhoeven movie, yeah.
Yeah. It's the Nolan version of the Rocketeer.
Oh God.
All the lens flares.
Oh no.
Oh man.
I mean, my answer is like long and boring. So does anybody else want to go?
I mean, Dreamcat first came to life during a holiday one-shot. And my inspiration was mostly, I'm gonna make an indigenous character that punches shit. And it just got more complicated from there.
I was great at punching.
She really was.
When all else fails, fall back to punching things.
Yeah. Now she can punch things even harder.
I'm also pretty good at throwing objects.
Yeah,
That's true.
got really good at like throwing and wielding things. Quite frankly. Okay, yeah, I'll do mine. So you take yourself and a whole bunch of pent up trauma you have, and then just make an RPG character out of it. That's Mallory. There's elements of like it wasn't intentional to like try to build a Raven alike. You know, I don't. Spoiler alert! I don't fucking read any DC comics. I know next to nothing, like zero about Teen Titans except who's on the roster. It's hard to dodge Raven with the Doomed though, because it's a very clearly inspired by that character. But no, that was like in the run up to this, there were like 3 other versions of Mallory that never happened. Like there was a Janice version of her, there was a Nova version of her that none of those really came through until I settled on Doomed because I had a lot of feelings at the time, and that playbook really allowed me to explore way deeper into this character than I thought I was ever going to. So yeah, honestly, like I don't have like a clear like I just pulled this from a comic book. It's a lot of lived experience and a lot of personal weird hardships that I don't know, made for good grist for the mill. So a lot of that.
I guess I'll go next. I figured out pretty early that I wanted to use the Brain playbook because that's just the kind of character I lean towards anyways, but figuring out the power set was a bit rough until I remembered an idea I had for National Novel Writing Month a few years ago that ended up falling through because I had a bunch of scenes but no real connection between them. And that's where the idea of the rescue exosuit came from, because that was all about someone who did that in a world that didn't have superheroes, but then when he foiled a bank robbery, things started happening with like people who had powers showing up and saying, hey, we don't want to be superheroes, we're trying to keep a low profile, and then villain showing up wanting to be the villain kind of thing. So I just combined those 2 ideas and did the twist of him not really wanting to be a hero, but feeling like he had to do something.
I basically just made a cross between Zatanna and Constantine.
My life is complete. Zatanna came up. Yes.
Zatanna is one of my all-time favorite comic book characters.
Thank you.
Constantine's one of mine.
So you're a magic user that it was basically a jack of all trades, constantly collecting things, and had way too much snark for her own good.
This next question is for Fox, but I will open it up to everybody because it's a good question for all of you, and we already kind of talked about it. How did your image for Malice, or your characters, change as you played?
Wow. Yeah, so like initially, God, she was still pretty much a dirtbag by the end. She was a lot more of a dirtbag at the beginning. She had a way bigger chip on her shoulder because she was still only a couple of years out from the unfortunate events of that traumatic night that fused Ares. So she was still kind of opening up to people and still just kind of blowing things off. She was a lot more nihilistic at the beginning. Indeed, a lot of the stuff where it's like, I'll just fob off all of my homework on Anna is born out of like this really grim, like internal feeling of the fact that like, I'm not gonna live to adulthood, you guys. Like, so why bother putting it in? Let's just have a good time and enjoy this ride because it's going to be brief because the tiny wizard who lives inside my brain is going to kill me. That's also one of the biggest things that I wasn't sure what was going to be. Like that was intentional on my part. I knew that I wanted to have some kind of like malevolent patron spirit because the playbook says like your nemesis, like your abilities are inherently tied to your nemesis. And I was like, okay, well, being possessed is fun, but I don't care what it is. So I threw some vague suggestions towards Nerdy, and she just came back with like, yeah, I don't know, the Zodiac. Like, okay, sure. And it kept me largely in the dark about it for a lot of it, which is why that's reflected in Mallory being like, I think there's a wizard in my head. I'm not really sure. Definitely wasn't sure it was a god. Just knew that like spells came out of it. So yeah, so like starting to understand that relationship, turn things around for a minute. I did not expect her to have a girlfriend. That was way out of really early on. You asked me like, because like we were leaving to go do something, you're like, okay, I have to know, is this a date? And I was like, I guess it is now. Fuck it. And it was a good way to like anchor the character because it gave her something to really latch onto as like, oh, this is actually important. Which then I could spiral out into like, oh, the other characters are also important. Oh, okay, maybe living is important. Oh, maybe I actually can beat this thing. And then I went into this fully anticipating that at some point this character would just eat shit and die. Because it's the name of the playbook. And I was like, okay, so if that happens, I'll just do this. And I'll talk to Nerdy whether or not we want to make a new character or just... To be perfectly honest, I was willing to just be like, yeah, I'm dead. Later. Recast the game. I don't care. Because that would be really, interesting and my camera could lose focus. But she survived, which was like... I ended up being a lot more happy about that than I was anticipating because I was just like, I'll just bury this character. It's fine. And it's like, no, I don't want to bury the one trans character. Maybe that actually feels shitty. So I'm kind of glad that worked out how it did in that regard. And then I was left with this decision of like, what fucking playbook does she get? And Protege is not something I ever considered for her initially, but it seemed to make sense with the way the story was shaking out. And the way it was very interesting to me that like her arc was kind of coming to a close and she as a character was very solid by the end of it, right as everybody else was completely spiraling apart. Yeah. So it felt like, okay, well maybe because she's in a good place, a Protege makes sense because it's the closest thing you have to like a leader role in the game. And so it was like, okay, I'll just do that. And maybe I can try and pull these strings together. So yeah, that was like the biggest surprise change stuff with it, honestly.
Yeah.
I forget, was that before or after we actually decided to have Mallory become the leader of the team?
It was what before?
When you switched playbooks.
I switched playbooks. Technically before. Yeah, it's in game. It kind of happens a little bit before. Like I had talked about it a little bit of just like, I don't know, I'm thinking of going to this. That makes sense. Like outside of the narrative and stuff, but like it wasn't like a big think up to it. It's just like, yeah, the week of, I was like, I need to pick a new playbook this week. And then we kind of continued to spin it towards that direction.
Yeah, I joined I joined halfway through the game and had zero expectations for my character. Like I basically just kind of jumbled things together, came up with a backstory that I thought was interesting, and then had a couple of scenes in my head of like her introduction was going to be in my head was going to be her sitting on some shipping crates eating an apple, and that turned into a thing with food to where I was trying to feed everybody. And then I pulled something out of my bag of tricks and that turned into its own thing. And then I got a frog that turned into its own thing. And it, like, my mental image of the character was this shy, just wanted to be there as one of the heroes kind of kid. And it turned into this snarky, frustrated teen with way too much magic than is good for her.
Yeah. Definitely feel that.
I was very happy when I did fly swatter, though, the first time.
Every time that bag opened, I got happy. Like, that thing was a...
Yeah.
Top to bottom.
I also did not expect the Book of Signatures to mean anything other than she has hero worship and wanted their signatures. Then I was like, well, shit, I can do things with this now.
Yeah. And honestly, I think it had a really cool coded to that whole thing. Like, the way that wrapped up, I liked a lot. Especially because I managed to get my name out of it, so... that felt good.
I offered, like, I was very clear with everybody. If you want me to tear your name out, I will.
Look, at that point, Shadowgast was Kat's love, so there was no way she was going to say yes to that. She was like, no, I trust you. I'll also kill you, but I trust you.
I believe your line was, if you ever fuck me, I will burn you or something. Like, yeah. It was intense. It was great.
And that's why she went after Velasquez. No, I'm kidding.
Dreamcat really did change a lot from my initial envisioning of her. Like, you know, originally she was part of a one-shot, so I was like, came in and guested a couple times, and it was like, oh yeah, I'm joining this now. I need to flesh this character out. Kind of let it happen through the game, and she became much less punch everything because I'm angry, and a lot more punch everything because I want to protect these people. Which is why at the end, when she locked a label, it was savior.
So, for me, I mean, really, his character became a lot more solid when I was thinking about, okay, for that 1 year jump, what do I want to have focus be? And really, everything after that sort of came from that. I was planting seeds for the long overdue meltdown, as I called it, the scene in the lab, pretty much from the first or second episode back from that. I think I even, in the debriefing after our mission that went poorly, trying to get the arms dealers, I think I even mentioned how many people had died because of the fabricator's weapons at that point, and it was a lower number than what I said in the big scene. So, but really solidified things then. Though I did, in the weeks leading up to that, since I wasn't sure exactly when it was going to happen, I actually ran through a lot of different ways the conversation could go, and had some things that I thought up that didn't end up using in that scene because just the conversation didn't go that way.
Well, you're not escaping this. Tell me about Cliff.
Yeah.
Tell me about Cliff. What the fuck is his deal?
I really was trying to go for, initially going for the very Rocketeer-esque, it was going to be very, he really just wants to be the type to help out everyone.
What happened?
I was like, as the episodes were going on, I was like, wait, he was in war. Oh shit, he has PTSD. And I was like,
I feel like Fox is just in one corner going, who hurt you? Just
Mallory.
I mean, because there's nothing I didn't never really talked about, but my whole idea for Cliff was that he was training to go into the army to join the Tuskegee Airmen, and that was a big thing back in the time because it's the first Black Air Regiment, and because of this experiment, he missed it. He missed his opportunity to protect the country in a way that was unheard of at the time. That was practically unallowed.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, he's in war, which he wanted to be, but it wasn't his war. So he had to go through, building up the bonds and of protecting people, but it still wasn't home. And when he finally made it home, all of a sudden it was like, but wait, everything's fixed already? You didn't need my help, but things are still broken. So it's kind of like the whole weird thing of like still literally just coming from the middle of war and into an area that's supposedly post-war, but still has a lot of issues that are seemingly uncontrollable. So it's like I realized he wouldn't. There's no way he would be able to figure out how to deal with any of this without just spiraling, So each time it just got worse and worse and worse. And the fact that Mallory was also very
deeply traumatized.
Yeah, and the two of them butting heads all the time because the only thing I think keeping Cliff sane was the fact that he was part of that army for a bit, which was very much, this is what you do exactly like this, and that's how we keep each other safe. And being thrust into this group where everything was pure chaos, it's just like, oh god, he's gonna explode.
I mean, for my side of that whole like relationship, like that was the tricky thing is like control and regimentation. Like, to back up and give people context on this, because I don't think I ever really got into the full details of what her backstory is. One, because when I was doomed, I couldn't talk about it, because if I talked about it, I would have to mark my doom track.
And you were a lot more hesitant about that than our other doomed.
And that was the thing. Well, that's so. I don't know. Actually, to back up a bit, what were Cliff's two doom triggers? One of them was facing danger alone. What was the other one? I don't think we ever found it.
Injuring an innocent.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, we did touch on that.
Right.
Yeah.
And mine
Literally
was
touched somebody and she kind of went down.
Yeah, I gained a doom track from that.
Mine was. I also had the facing danger alone, but the other one was discussing like the nature of your doom. So that's why very early on she would always, anytime the topic was broached, she would always try to like really hard to push away from it. And then after the fact, nobody ever asked her about it. So
sometimes literally.
Well, listen. It was either that or mark my doom track. What do you want from me?
Yeah.
But no, like her whole thing is, I mean, she grew up as a queer kid in an extremely religious family, and that came out in her early teens, and they shipped her ass off to a conversion therapy camp, which by coincidence, because it's comic books, the chunk of the woods out where they do that, do their little fucking nonsense bullshit, also just happened to be like an intersection of ley lines. So what was supposed to be like, grr, we're gonna scare you straight, became like, grr, we accidentally summoned a demon into you. Which ended in a night of blood and fire. Like, it's all like this, it's just awful. So she was coming very much from a position of like authority bad. And Cliff is coming from authority makes things make sense. So that's why very early on, the two of them were just like kind of struggling with like these same traumas, but from completely different angles, and just could not at all see eye to eye on. Which is why I think she wrapped back around again at the end with Cliff and realizing like, oh God, like we are not so different, you and I need to approach this from your way of getting through it and try and give you this structure, because it's just why Mallory was just at an end, because at that point I felt like I got the impression that Cliff was just so far gone that it was not, there's nothing for her to reach out to, and she didn't know how to give him whatever he did, you know?
I think Cliff's thing wasn't that necessarily that he was gone per se. It's like he internalized that this was his war, and that sometimes the only way to save everyone is to sacrifice yourself. So it wasn't necessarily like I'm gonna die anyways. It's more of the like, if someone has to die, it may as well be me.
Yeah.
That was where Cliff was coming from. It's like, I'd rather sacrifice myself to save everybody than have something horrible happen.
Right. And I think that's why that hit so hard with Mallory, is that she had just gotten through a situation where now she wasn't going to live, now she is and really wants to, and
Mhm.
like see a little bit of that in Cliff of just like, no, I want to I want you to live too. I want you to want to live. So like that was a lot of her projecting that out. So
And then I traumatized her.
well, look,
I-
That
it,
too.
it was hard to portray that Cliff still wanted to live, that he didn't want to die, but he was also resigned to the idea that if he had to, that's how it is.
yeah. I'm, for my part, really glad he didn't. That meant a lot to me personally.
Yeah, I tried to fail a lot of roles, and then we had that string of 10s going on, and I'm like, huh, I guess the game wants me to die. But it didn't happen, luckily.
Yes.
Yes, I'll die then.
Who would have thought criticals are a bad thing?
There are other ways to get XP in this game, I swear.
There are, and not a lot of them came up.
You know.
I had 6 other ways advancements. Didn't mark a single one of them.
I don't know.
I tried 3 different times to go and find somebody to talk to, and all 3 times, either they weren't there or it was a shitty roll.
It's a weird playbook for sure.
I think it's meant for more of a, for far more of a long-term thing where you can have more one-on-one time with NPCs and develop those relationships.
There's that too. Like, it may have just been the nature of our game, honestly.
And coming in partway through.
Also, that you didn't come in at the halfway mark. You came at like the
Yeah, I was.
7% mark.
Yeah.
Like, I would have killed to have had you from the jump on this, because holy moly, holy moly, this character. I love Shadowgast. I think she's fantastic.
It was really close on if she was going to go demon or dryad. And if she'd gone dryad, I would have taken the transform, but I would have given her plant affinity. So she basically would have been poison ivy.
Poison Ivy. No, for sure. No, yeah. Mallory definitely had her issues with that whole situation, but like for me, I thought it was great. I thought it was awesome. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one of the things that I noticed, especially having a Doomed and then having a Doomed and a Brain, is balancing stories in masks is not easy. The Doomed demands attention, and to a certain extent the Brain does too, but it's really, when you have a Doomed and a Brain, it's really easy to...
I forget if I said this on stream or just behind the scenes stuff during our breaks and whatever, but the Brain is basically the tech Doomed.
yeah, like you look at the two playbooks, they're fundamentally the same thing.
Yeah.
with
like
much less of a ticking clock, which it
Basically.
demands. It can get kind of set to the wayside for the Doom, and then when you have somebody coming in late, and you're trying to balance a lot of stories with stories that are demanding attention, it can get a little difficult.
No, we didn't make it easy by removing one Doom to bring him one immediately back in.
it was a choice.
Also, 3 of us popped our moment of truths on the same episode.
That was rad. That was rad. That was awesome.
Yeah, I was well, I probably should have figured with as much story as we still had to cover that there wouldn't be as much time on the fabricator thing, but I really expected that to be more to that final confrontation than there ended up being. So
I do have one question for Wainwright.
Yeah, go ahead.
Why was Wainwright so hesitant to help Cliff get back to the alien planet?
I think it was more that he had his things he was focused on, his things he was sort of obsessed with, that was sort of secondary. Honestly, he considered the whole thing with A.E.G.I.S being taken over and being on the run almost a distraction from what he was trying to work on. So it wasn't as much he didn't want to help as it's just, okay, that's I can deal with that later kind of thing.
I felt like that one part like changed so much of the dynamic between Cliff and Wainwright. I was like, oh, I wasn't expecting it to be like that. I was like, oh shit, now I gotta do like, what does Cliff think about this now? Kitty.
Yeah, because if I remember right, when you would ask about that was close to when we had the Bray had the year jump too, so it was sort of starting to get into that. Okay,
I think it was just before.
yeah, so I think I might have already been sort of leaning in the direction of okay, this is his entire focus, and it's just okay. This other stuff's this other stuff is okay. Get through this, get back to what's really important.
Okay, let's see. What was your favorite interaction with each other?
Anytime I
Fry
tried
bread, fry bread, fry bread, fry bread.
Fry bed was great. Yes.
I have to think about that honestly. But that's the first one that pops to mind.
I really did like the museum everything.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I have mine. I remember now. One Cliff Johnson came back from talking to his superiors who had told him, in his estimation, that the power of love was going to get us through this. And when he went around to each of us in turn, it was just perfect. Everybody was perfect.
Oh yes, the very awkward. I guess I love y'all phase.
Yeah.
It wasn't. It was. I love you. I recently watched that episode, and you're fucking deadpan. I love you. And, like, it's a magic spell. It's so good. Cliff, honey, no. I like girls.
I know mine. Mine was the very first. I don't even remember what the piece of tech was, but it was the very first time somebody tried to hand or get Cliff to do something with a piece of tech, and he just the deadpan delivery the first time. It was always great, but that first time was.
It was a cell phone, I think.
I think it was.
Oh,
Or was it when we had the knowledge demon?
That was a good episode.
it was like y'all told me to just use the phone. I'm like, oh, but there's no dial.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
A legend was born.
Yeah, once that happened, I was like, oh, I can play around with him not knowing anything about tech.
Which is bizarre. Like, he was on an alien world, and he was training to be a Tuskegee Airman. Like,
And
Yeah.
had already been here for a year at that point.
It's like he's good with really old technology.
it's a wild quirk. Like, that's the thing. It's like, I don't think it was bad. I think it was great for the character. Yeah. Such a, like, wait, but that makes no sense, Clip. Whatever. You are on an alien planet. You have a jetpack. Why can't you figure out a cell phone?
I mean, it doesn't take a lot to pull the trigger or push a button and fly.
That is fair. Plays are complicated. Plays are extremely complicated.
They're not exactly asking you to write up a 20-page report on the battlefield. Because my whole thing was like Cliff, I was like, through all the random shit that happened to him, he had no time to, even if they did have that technology, they didn't have that time to impart him onto him, like he went straight up into the thick of things. So it's like get wise quick or, get dead.
For sure.
My favorite part was all of us trying to figure out that fucking school. And by the end of it, largely giving up and just kind of demolishing what was around us.
I think mine was definitely when Shadowcat got the dinosaur bone and made it their permanent weapon. I was like,
I was wondering how the hell we were going to top a dinosaur bone. Turned out we had to decapitate a dragon, and
Yeah.
frankly, I'm impressed. It's a good use
Yeah.
of the truth. Honestly, we had a lot of good moment of truth. Honestly, like I liked all of them.
Yeah, they were all perfect for the character that was popping it.
I felt like mine turned out to be a little anticlimactic, but it still sort of played into the when we did the okay, where are they 5 years from now kind of thing. So
I kind of felt bad because I stole Nerdy's Armageddon gem thing. The black gem that she ate from was basically an Armageddon gem that had lost its power, so it was a petrified demon gate.
Oh, that was perfect. that was perfect. Which, speaking of, the next question is for me. It is basically, did the players do anything unexpected, anything I didn't predict, and did I have to shift the whole thing? Honestly, I'd actually always kind of planned to turn Aegis against you. I hadn't really planned on doing it so early, but all of you, except for one, had a real problem with authority, especially Malice.
yeah,
So it was kind of perfect. But the big thing is I also, or the other big thing that was, is Malice didn't really want to lean on anybody for help at all. But I gave her a couple of alleyways early on with either the Order of Celeste, which had the information. They weren't evil, but they were will do anything to stop evil, kind of morally gray organization. And then there was Hex and Alice, who had some of the information. And I was like, you know, you could lead on one of them. And Alice is like, no, I'm going to do it myself. And so it shifted some things.
In my defense, I didn't know you were trying to get me to do a thing. I didn't know what to do. Like, I honestly, like, to step back a little bit on that one, some of that is definitely born out of Malice's inherent mistrust of people in positions of power and authority over her, especially early on in the storyline. But I will admit, just as a player, there was also a little bit there of just like, okay, what do you want me to do? I don't know what I'm supposed to do with these people. So I was also just a little lost on that, so sorry about that.
Yeah, no problem. I just, yeah, they were just supposed to be. We have the knowledge to maybe help you fight the demon in your head, kind of thing.
Okay.
They weren't.
I will also say too that we had a nasty tendency to like bump into these situations when we were like smack in the middle of like crises. Like the friggin' the burger place. I'm blanking on the name. Knuckleburger. The Knuckleburger was getting eaten alive by like giant insect robot things, and just like, you got time to chat? I'm like, no, super don't. So I was a little harried too. Admittedly, she wasn't thinking straight, and so far she ever can.
And I'm surprised we didn't traumatize all the Knuckleburger employees.
We did.
Hey, at least the company was able to pay for all their therapy with all the burgers Velasquez bought.
Which is a perfect time to ask another question. Best fast food joint that the team hit up.
Tacos.
I'm always going to be partial to dodecahedrons.
Whatever one we put a hole in.
That was
That
that was
doesn't
the
narrow it
Knuckleburger.
down all that much.
that was our band.
Yeah, that was the Knuckleburger.
We went there several times. Like,
Oh yeah.
I just like that we accidentally teleported to a taco joint and assumed that was where we would find them.
I mean, As often as we spent time at Knuckleburger, it made sense. Yeah, this tracks.
Like, of course the taco place is evil because the burger place is good.
That's logic. That's sound teenager logic.
Listen, the teddy bear had never lied to me before.
And it wasn't about to start now, damn it.
It was just a little drunk.
I mean, we were technically in the right proximity.
Got into my sacred libations and that was the only thing I had planned for that character was the teddy bear. Like everything else I was pulling out of my bag of tricks, I was like, well, what else would I have? But the teddy bear was the only thing that I actually had an idea for.
I do feel kind of sad that all of our pizza parties were kind of weird and disjointed.
God, they were. Wait a minute. Hold the phone. Our pizzas
Really were.
from the jump even, because I brought back cold pizza from Dodecahedrons that night, and it was all super weird and awkward.
Even after Dreamcat explained to Cliff what banging is?
Boning.
Boning, that's right, boning.
That was that same episode. It's a good one.
Yeah.
And then you use Cliff's card to buy a shit ton of pizza. And he was like, oh, cool, free money.
My favorite thing about that whole thing was Nerdy's face after like I ordered a bunch of pizzas and then turned to Anna and go, "Did you want anything?" Just like, wait, are those all for Mallory? Like, yeah, she's hungry. She's eating for two. What do you want?
One of the two's a demon.
Yeah.
That's not how much Sebastian ate.
Credulity on Nerdy's face was just fucking just.
Best teen tantrum.
Probably Wainwright.
Every time Mallory threw Cliff into a wall.
Happened twice. Once on accident. It wasn't my fucking fault. Only once on purpose.
Still 2 times too many.
Did only twice? I thought it was at least.
Nope.
Or maybe one of the times that there were 2 pushes during the same.
I mean, it felt like it happened a lot.
Yeah.
Like maybe we just brought it up so much.
You guys just brought it up all the time. I never got to it. And again, the first time it was because of a flubbed roll. The roll got blown, so my powers just went off. And the second time was in the hallway when we had gotten pseudo kidnapped.
Yeah.
And, we just straight up fought in that hallway. Like that was the only other time. That was it.
I mean, y'all were like having tea parties with the bad guys here. What the hell's going on?
I did not die, Cliff.
I'm still amazed that Dreamcat was like the most level-headed of all of you.
That was a close second.
You were a close second.
Right up until the end. And we still worked together at the end. Sort of.
Oh yeah, we were a big mess.
I don't think of any other ones we had. I mean, directed outward, like if it has to be directed inward, I'm not sure I have another one. Directed outward, I really liked the classroom at the school of Eddie. We were all just like, we're done with this.
Like everyone's
Snakes.
The attempted therapy sessions there, I think, were a little bit.
I mean, like that whole extended sequence, like not even just like from the classroom onward until we left was like one big temper tantrum, honestly. Yeah.
I did like the going back to favorite interactions. I did like that point when we were going to rescue, I think it was Wainwright, and Dreamcat and I had to drive there, and when we arrived, we just decided to open the door with a Vespa. Like we both of us, without even talking about it, we just kind of simultaneously took out the guards.
Good.
I do like how Mallory was the only one who accepted the therapy, and the rest of us were like, haha, therapy, what's that?
I mean, I just come through all the other stuff with with like switching over playbooks, and I had Doomslayer then, and like so she was in like such a different place. It's like I don't know, she'll talk about it. Why not? Also, admittedly, it was a thing of like, in a sense, I also wanted to throw Nerdy a bit of a bone because it's like GM to GM, I could see this wonderful like gift we'd been set up with here of just like, you want to talk about your character for a second? I'm like, fuck it, yeah, I want to talk about my character for a second. So while still trying to keep in tone with like how she talks, I just sort of let her slip into a few things, so that I could then like build off that later. But
that whole episode, I was literally, we're in a magical place now. I'm the only one that has magic. How the fuck do I get us out of here? Because I don't know what's going on.
Point of order, you weren't the only. I mean, I had a magical.
Well, but the way you used your magic changed when you changed playbooks.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, it's like I don't cast spells. I have a relic of magical power.
So I'm sitting here. I was stretching my abilities a little bit by saying, "Do I sense anything? Do my magical sense it?" Because I don't have those. That's not actually described in the playbook. But Nerdy let me get into it. So.
Me though, because it made me remember like, oh right, I have like psychic abilities. I can just like thank you. So that was helpful for me.
Which, speaking of the magic school, for those of you that did refuse therapy, other than that, it was basically Lex Luthor offering you free therapy. Why did you refuse therapy?
I think with me, it's more oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, I suppose that's sort of case in point. I sort of tended to be more passive in the background to begin with, and since other people had stuff going on, it was just like, okay, I'm just sort of hanging around, not trying to split attention.
Yeah, but your tantrum in the classroom was my favorite one.
Oh, geez, I don't. Oh,
you slammed down on the desk.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Now I remember which one you're talking about. It was like, I've had enough of this magical bullshit. One, pretty much.
And I'm right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, for Cliff, it was very much just we're in the middle of an enemy base, so why would I tell you anything?
This is my name, this is my serial number, this is my rank.
Oh.
For me, it was just because it was coming from Gast. She didn't want anything from him.
So I think I know the answer to this a little bit. Favorite NPC?
Velasquez. And Gary.
Yeah, that was a late addition.
Penny.
Now I'm supposed to say Anna. Want to say Burger Angel.
I thought you might want to say Burger Angel.
That's a hard choice for me.
That's our couple name, is Burger Angel and Frog Demon.
This week on NBC. Yeah, I don't know. It's Velasquez was so great, and he was always a fun character to kind of just like hop back to like a ground. It was always a joy whenever he showed up. Getting rescued by him was like a highlight of the game for me. At the same time, it's also like Starburst is just such a jackass. He's the kind of guy I love to hate. Almost through no fault of his own by the end of it, we had just built up such a fucking like bile for this guy that all he had to do was like stand. He didn't have to open his mouth. It's like, ugh.
I don't know how long I had it, but I got his fucking helmet.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I have to say Velasquez because he's one that I didn't have before this, which some of them, even Starburst, Starburst was born out of the one shot and stuff, but I didn't really have. But most of them were, but Velasquez was kind of born out of the moment, and he was so much funner than the others. I have to say it too, because he was so different. Because Shadow's so serious, and even Hex is a bit serious to a point and stuff, but Velasquez is just out there eating burgers and, having a good
And in
time.
our flashback episode, I retconned him into having been on the football team at the university the year before.
Let's to eat burgers and get high. Like, what's wrong with that? I respect that. Mallory respects that too. But yeah, he goes back to like the second episode, like, as I recall, second or third. He's way back there. Like he's in the same episode as Anna, I believe. First time we ever meet.
The first time I thought that maybe I should have Shadowgas have a thing with Velasquez, because I wasn't even sure when the kids showed up. But then at the end of that episode, I go and meet Velasquez, and our first interaction is to exchange food. And to Shadowgas, that's flirting. I mean,
Accurate.
So I had that floating in the back of my head for pretty much the rest of the season.
For me, it was like it became Penny after the whole "our children are coming to try and save us" thing. Then all of a sudden it was like Cliff was just like, I don't have time to deal with this shit.
It's a lot.
Yeah, but it was like really. It's like, now you need me to figure out how I got together with a supervillain. Yeah, no, I'm not gonna.
Cliff wasn't playing hard to get; he was playing ambivalent to get.
I mean, as long as we're talking about the time travel, I'll bounce that back to nerdy. Where the fuck did that come from? What was that all about? That was like, of all the oddballs that got through at us, I never in a million years would have expected that one. That was way out of
Yeah, part of it is I needed an idea, and I didn't. There was some stuff bouncing around, but I needed an idea to kind of push a couple of directions, and I didn't have one. And so, at the time, Netflix had just dropped all the CW shows, so I was watching the latest episode of Flash, which doesn't help you not come up with time travel.
Yeah, considering the whole arc of last season was Barry and Iris's daughter from the future comes back and
and it was kind of born out of I needed something to push. Like there's this ultimatum of it's either Ares or defeat the Atlantean, and it worked really well. So I mean, I'm glad I did it. It was fun.
It's very comic book. I love that.
On that fact, best storyteller moment.
No pressure.
Pretty much every goddamn cliffhanger.
Gosh, there was a lot. Honestly, like the first thing that pops into my head, because we're just talking about him, was just we're running around trying to catch these like demons that are moving through the school, and there's just this jackass coming along like, "Hey, you want burgers later?" I'm like, "Who the fuck are you?" No, yeah, whatever, Velasquez. Later. Like that dude. Every time he came up was such a joy.
I know a good one. The interaction when I finally got to interact with Masquerade, and the way it happened is I set fire to my bedroom, and then like that whole interaction of, did you blow up the microwave again? Oh shit, my burrito.
Oh, for me it was the fake Atlantean. Finding out not everything we just went through was like, oh shit, we didn't really. Like Street Pizza's not who I thought it was.
That was also a very comic book moment, and I loved having that in there.
that sort of felt like okay, that was too easy. It's not the real. But possibly because it was so comic booky, it's like, okay, yeah.
Actually, I am going to be selfish for a second and also say, yeah, I got to go on a date. That was fucking rad. I don't get to do that very often in RPG, so that was awesome. Just those 4 words. Is this a date? It's like, oh shit.
You're
That
like,
that one very much for me was very
you're
special.
like, I'm taking Anna for pizza, and I was like, well, I mean, I guess to know how I'm playing this, I kind of need to know, is this meant to be a date?
And she was just so perfect because Mallory's just so god awful and shitty and awkward, and Anna was just so nice the whole time. So, yeah, that was really special to me. I enjoyed that a lot, and that was when it was like very solidified for me as a character. It's like, okay, these two have a bond now. This is a thing for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
So that was special for me.
See, I figured early on that Anna had a crush on Mallory just because it definitely, at least like TV show, book wise, it's always that meek, nice character always has a crush on that kind of asshole-ish bad character. And so it was definitely a thing, and I didn't know. I just kind of left it up to you whether or not you would go that direction or not.
100% every time. She's doing my homework. Are you kidding me? I passed chemistry.
Oh yeah.
Because
Funny
of all
how-
that chemistry.
Hey, jokes.
Are you finding out Anna wouldn't waterboard?
Oh, that was a good scene.
Yeah, it was great because you literally all you had to do was ask the other character that was very similar, and would have gotten what you wanted.
So point of order, no, you wouldn't have. 1, Mallory would have stepped in, and if stopped, 2, gonna be honest with you, would have X-carded it. Like, that was like, whoa. We are not fucking, we are teenagers. We don't have that much attitude. We're not waterboarding someone. So I was kind of happy with how that ended up playing out. It was
Oh, I
just-
was super
what I
happy.
looking for.
I'm not in the Millennium Knights game. I have no idea.
I was happy with how it played out. It's just that Cascade would have been way more willing to do it.
Yeah, for sure.
I know my favorite moments. One of them, I don't know if you ever actually found out. Did you ever find out that the prison was fake?
From the first episode?
No, yeah, it was
Okay.
technically from the first episode.
The Aegis
But
prison
more-
Gary
yeah.
was in? Or not Gary,
Or that technically that Penny and everything were there. A lot of that
Wait.
prison was actually fake. I don't think we ever talked about it.
You're
Oh,
talking about
no.
the like Penny and Bill were in.
No,
In the
no. Earlier,
The one from before
the paper factory, the secret prison.
yeah,
That
like the
was-
one like that we took like that fireball guy like
Yeah.
way back in like the first episode. That
Yeah,
one.
and
Yeah.
then broke into later
Yeah,
to
we
Yeah,
rescue people.
Specifically when you broke into it, but more in fact, the whole prison was technically fake by Penny Dreadful. So the cuffs that you seen were actually supposed to be the amplifier. So what you were seeing as a prison was just actually like the basement of the empty basement of a warehouse.
Oh yeah, that never came up.
Oh,
Yeah, so I would like the Penny trying to convince Cliff to let her out was funny to me because technically she could walk out, but I couldn't remember if we actually brought it up.
No, we
No.
fight our we went into an office, we were getting files, people like threw a shot grenade at us. It was a whole thing getting out of there.
Yeah.
And then of course the other one was dimension skipping. When you came back with and we're trying to bring in Amber Benson, and
Oh,
you
Going into
dimension
State of Thorns
skip.
is fucking rad. Like, I'm just gonna.
I shot him. I shot Amber in the leg.
Yeah, that didn't have any repercussions whatsoever.
Oh yeah, and you giving that the arrow back to Shadow as a wedding present. That was wow. That was something.
And then got marked return to sender.
Yeah, that wasn't planned. The wedding, the vision that Mallory had in the future. If you'd actually gone that direction, I hadn't let you just roll to beat the Atlantean and stuff. Technically, Shadow would have died in that actual final encounter with the Atlantean that Mallory had seen in the vision. Because she would, I believe, she would have died trying to save everybody else.
Honestly, we had shockingly few deaths, all things called.
Yeah.
Kind of died.
Let's see. We got a couple other questions. Let's see. What happened to Shadowcast Frog after they went to hell?
So tell me if this breaks into your world building at all, but I had a vague notion that there would be like a dimensional hell where demons dwelled, but Sebastian actually came from a different place because she was so unwilling to touch anything that her father had touched. Her way of kind of reclaiming that was to summon a demon in more of the classical sense, which is both an entity of chaos and a teacher. So she pulled from chaos this spirit and gave it a form, and that became her familiar. So when he went back to his kind of home dimension, he reverted to his natural form, and all that stuff that he took with him, rather than being physical things, they became potential. Basically, potential chaos that he can pull on other people.
Yeah,
Which
it
is why there's
doesn't-
yes.
I mean, at this point, considering that you went to several dimensions, there was time travel. The constellations were prisons for super powerful demons. Having a chaos like dimension that you can pull frogs from, not really breaking anything.
Complex cosmology. I wanted to say real quick, while we're sort of between beats here, Michi, you're having like so much technical problems. Like, did you want to try? Like, did we maybe need to take a short break to see if you can't suss that stuff out? Because I'd really love for you to be part of this.
Yeah,
Like,
we can.
I'm like stuck in the negative zone, and it's killing my heart.
Yeah, we can take a short break and see if some of these tech issues can be sorted out. Yeah, so it's about
Whichever
that time,
happens first.
anyways. We're gonna go to a short 5-10 minute break, so we can sort out some tech issues. We'll be right back. Hello and welcome back. Real quick, want to do a shout out for our new sponsor, Roll20. A great virtual tabletop. It's what we used for this game. They have lots of stuff. You can do maps. They got great character sheets. You can use your tokens. They got music stuff. I should have put my pitch up from the beginning. Video, built-in video and voice chats. You run it out of your browser, of course. You can get all of that for the free account. And just go over to roll20.net to sign up. Now, do you all have any questions for each other that haven't been addressed?
I mean, I have one for you, Nerdy.
Yes.
I was always curious. I presume so. After I took the death smoothie and lost focus on my camera, there we go. After I took the death smoothie and kicked Ares out of my body, I went and then talked to someone else, some unnamed ethereal thing. Was it two questions? One, was that a member? There's another member of the Zodiac. Was that another one of them?
No. So there
was
are.
that?
So technically, they never really came up because, but in your vision, you see 3 visions come down to try to stop the Atlantean. They're basically ancient guardians, and I had their names somewhere, but I don't remember them off the top of my head. But one of them was a seer, and 2 of them were warriors, and the one you talked to was the seer.
Okay. Neat. So many gods in my brain. A lot of that going around.
Actually, I have a question for Nerdy as well. Was it always your intention to have the sort of Atlantean plot sort of end, maybe a little over halfway through the season and then focus on our individual character stuff after that? Or was that more of like, okay, we have a doomed, then another doomed, and a brain, and everyone else's stuff too?
It wasn't really the intention. And I had stuff after that, with the prison and like the Gemini and possibly some of the others escaping that didn't really come up, but it wasn't the intention. But I could have easily, because it's part of the system, just been like, he wipes the floor with you. But I have a tendency to want to see where the dice fall, despite my vision and plans for things. So you rolled really well that day, and I just went with it and just changed a few things and just kept going. But it did allow us to focus more on some of the stories, which was a thing that needed to happen anyways.
Is that when I went a little bit Naruto and put him in a coffin?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is what inspired. I mean, I do have that actual coffin in real life, but what inspired the move was the sand prison, or the sand coffin in Naruto.
Always comes back to anime.
Yeah.
Nerd.
I mean, by the same token, like, I was stuck for a name for that stupid scythe, and it's like, well, I played Doom recently. Yeah, Doomslayer, why not? It's kind of a stupid thing Mallory would pick.
Yeah.
I think I was kind of wondering if did y'all understand the timing of when Cliff sent his letters to all y'all?
I thought I did. No, I'm not sure.
Because the letters were essentially the way that I wrote them was they were written out before the final battle in case he died.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Especially in mine, that came through very clear.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got that too.
I mean, with how little our characters interacted, mine could have been at any point.
I love
Although
those
it would be
letters.
after the frog arrived, so
The letters were a hell of a surprise, honestly. They were great. Just little. You were like, hang on a second, and I looked over the Zoom chat and it went whoop. I was like, okay, hi. And there was this really sweet letter in there, and it's just
Oh, I figured that was something that Cliff would do, and that y'all wouldn't get it immediately because he doesn't know how to send an email. Did you have trouble dealing with all the or not trouble, just was it rough dealing with the dimension stuff that Cliff, all the time shenanigans that Cliff got us into?
Is that directed at?
To Teddy.
Okay.
No, not so much. It was definitely a swerve. So it was definitely like, oh, recalculate, how to do it. But I wouldn't say it was difficult. It was a nice flavor, and it did make it. The idea that time travel was already possible helped the spur along the idea that they came back from the future.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question for Michi, actually.
Yeah.
Why stay at Aegis? Where did that come from? I did not expect that at all.
So, like I mentioned, Kat's perspective kind of shifted from attack, punch everything to being very defensive of the people that she cared about. Because this was the first group that she had really, there were the Liberty Bells, but that kind of did its thing and everything. But then there's these people that she actually started really caring about. And so her focus shifted a lot to defending those people. And then she's looking back at the team and she's like, we were a fucking mess. We had no training. I'm in a position where I can train these kids and at least give them a foundation. And she just didn't want other teams, other young kids to have to deal with this shit the same way that this team did.
Especially since Dreamcat wasn't actually part of the original Aegis.
Yeah.
When to begin with, sort of in that year gap.
Yeah. I did find it interesting how our point of contact while we were officially the first part of Aegis never really talked to us.
He gave me detention once.
Yeah, he gave detention. He scolded
Give
us.
the finger.
They maybe gave us a mission. At no point did they check up on us, trying to say, "Hey, is there anything you have questions about? Anything we can help you with? How's the training going?" There's just like
he was technically just your field liaison. Like, they had teachers and they were trainers that we kind of glossed over a lot of that. But technically the original Aegis was sort of set up as a school. And then later the reason you were allowed out in the field was because you had field experience. Whereas most of the kids, like, technically like Minnie and stuff, they were actually getting training and not out in the field.
Yeah. Like, I'd always imagined, like, in the run-up to that, like, because Mallory had been there for a while, like, she hadn't gone out and done superhero shit. She just was on, like, a weird protection situation with Aegis, essentially. She was homeless, so it was like, well, it's this or the street, so what the fuck do I do?
I kind of like the way this game works. I like that it lets you kind of riff off each other and kind of wing a lot, because I just kept pulling more ridiculous things on spur of the moment decisions, like the calling lightning down and having it turn into a tornado spur of the moment, and this is going to be an Armageddon crystal spur of the moment. And even Sebastian was spur of the moment. I had this idea and I'm like, I can take another move.
Yeah, I love everything with Sebastian was born out of, like, yeah, because the movie's called, like, Let's Go Lucky or something, and it's just you have a pet. It's out of the Beacon playbook?
It's Sikkim Lucky.
That's what it is. Yeah, and this whole mythology spiraled out of just pulling one little move in from another playbook. It's so cool. I love the yeah.
I mean, one failed roll led to an entire villain, technically.
Yeah,
It-
punch that guy. In his
Yeah,
big
yeah.
stupid Nazi face, the fucker.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Honestly, you know what? To back up a little bit, favorite moment of the entire fucking game? I punched a space Nazi. That felt good.
Real quick, got another question in the chat. Favorite guest star?
Oh, don't let me pick. They're both really good friends of mine, and they'll kill me.
They were both great for different reasons.
I love all my
Jack
children
playing
equally.
yeah, like Kid Target was great in that moment because it's like he's the only one that has like any professionalism going on. But
Well,
he played
and
so
at the
well.
same time, was sort of too earnest.
Yeah.
So
He-
that was why Wainwright didn't really like him, as you may even before he set up that. Oh yeah, his jet boots he has now, stolen
It
prototype.
felt like
Thank you, Kevin.
it felt like the moment he encountered all of us as a team, what he saw was a bunch of cats on their backs with their paws flailing in the air.
Because he
I'm just-
did.
That's exactly, yeah.
I'm just glad they both got to experience a Cliff's "What's technology" moment.
Yeah, but then like Jack's character Bill was just that emotion control fucked everything up.
Jack's you're too good. Jack's too good at that. Little too good at it. Love you though.
This is
Yeah,
like-
like I mean, it's hard for me to like sort of narrow down like a favorite on that because I'm just such close friends with both Kevin and Jack that like I would move heaven and earth to be at a table with either of them, like in any capacity. So getting to see Kevin work his magic of like, you fucking yahoos, what are you doing around? No.
Here's a question for Nerdy. Did you talk to Jack beforehand about what his goals and motivations are? Because he was pulling a lot of shit on all of us. And I want to know if that was just natural Jack or if they got some like this is what your character's shooting for or
So, a little bit. The thing is I didn't go to Jack. Jack came to me and was like, I hear your characters are going to a prison.
Oh boy.
Get out of my game, Jack. What the shit?
And then, so,
What are you doing?
and they, told me they wanted to be a villain in the prison. I was like, this is perfect. So I knew a little bit of what the emotions and what was going on there, the motivations and all that, but not everything. It was just literally, I hear your characters are going to a prison.
like it, not surprising to me that Jack can make a character that's slick because I've seen it happen. Like I saw the Hacker Collective, and I know I know that they can pull that off. But that was just like they were running circles around us the entire episode.
So,
yeah, I have something to admit there.
What'd you do to us, Meech? Did you fucking narc us out?
Jack might have asked me, like, what's the best way to get everyone on my side? And what's the best way to alienate them?
oh.
You fucking narc.
So was there a plan if we had all just like ignored Bill?
Bill made himself very unignorable.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
he was also a prisoner. We could have could have gone with the option is like, oh, he's just a prisoner. Don't talk to him.
I mean, honestly,
Let us.
you would have probably been in more trouble because the lovely little earthquake that put you in lockdown probably would have like caused minor power failures or something.
Yeah.
And there was ways I could have escalated it.
And look,
Oh,
Bill
yeah.
was this kid locked in a cell and saying that it's unfair. Either Kat or Mallory were going to jump on that.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was happening.
Instead, Cliff did.
It said,
There was a chance.
Which was perfect
That-
because it threw me completely off my game. Like, so
There's a
that
chance
was great.
that they would have gotten Shadowgas just because I would have been painting shit on their cell.
Oh, on the light field.
Like, yeah, I can't pick a favorite between that. Honestly, that's impossible for me. I love both of those human beings way too much.
You were
I
both
just love the
great.
constant look of incredulity that Kid Target had every time one of us would do anything.
Just disgusted. Just disgusted.
The
I like to think
contrast
that
was
later
so
on, when Shadowgast was setting up her team, trying to teach these kids and trying to help them control their magic, that she would go and find him to like, how?
Yeah. I also
Well,
just have to say-
remember, part of our first mission thing, I actually just looked this back up in my notes, you know, when we were setting up our characters, the whole, hey, here's what our first mission was before our session started. We scared off the sidekick of another hero, too. So,
Yeah. Paladin's sidekick, whose name I don't remember.
Squire.
Squire, that's right.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yes,
Yeah.
Squire got frightened all the way out of, like, from the backstory on. Like, nope, never coming back to you fucking knuckleheads. Fuck that. I've seen Team Excalibur. They're a nightmare.
Oh, that was the other thing I was going to say. You know how when she transformed into the demon, she became Cambion?
Hmm?
Because her mother is Pinnacle, and the choice of her becoming a Dryad would have been because of Pinnacle. She was going to call herself Prodigal.
Ah, that's very good.
Aw.
I also have to, like, wave my banner around that I'm still extremely happy with this Mallory Alice Graves. Malice. I was really proud of I was sitting there, I was like
Yeah.
days before we had to go live, I'm sitting there on my sofa going like, what do I name this fucking character? It's like, I'm a genius. So I was very happy about that.
Very comic book name.
Yeah, honestly, it's really what I was drawing from on that one. It's like, let's get
Yeah.
some Clark
I
Kent shit in
basically
here.
just played with Mortis.
That does remind me. Speaking of guest characters, lore-wise, because unfortunately, the original player for Hunter had to leave the show really early on. I've always wondered, like, what do you think ever happened? Like, and I love this to the table. Like, what the fuck happened to that character? Because he is gone. He just vanishes one day, and we never hear from him again. I had Mallory send him a voicemail to kind of like give that character some kind of a goodbye, but then nothing ever again. And I've always wondered.
Mallory was the only one who knew his real identity, right?
I believe so. Sounds right. Let's go with yes.
I'm just gonna blame it on Bill. It's fine.
Fair.
So
Gary, he's just,
Well, I figured with the timing of when
Oh,
yeah,
he was
so
working at Knuckleburger, right?
Yes,
Oh,
he had
yeah,
a part-time
there
job at Knuckleburger.
So when Knuckleburger gets destroyed, corporations do what corporations do. They fire all the employees or transfer them out while they rebuild.
I like to think that because of us destroying Knuckleburger so many times, he became a supervillain. He just destroying his
Yeah,
job.
with the timing of it, I had kind of figured that he had gotten captured like the rest of the Liberty Bells, and sort of tied up with that whole corrupt original Aegis.
I like this
Thing.
theory that he became like the anti-burger, and now him and Velasquez fight.
um,
Oh, he's
so
Velasquez's nemesis now.
like, kind of what I thought happened was that the injury sidelined them, and then it come back to an entirely different Aegis. That one that's probably telling, you know, all of you are untrustworthy and all this stuff. Then Aegis falls. I kind of assumed that character probably left and went to a different city, because there are technically
Fair.
different cities with different sets of heroes. Because at a certain point, can I trust those people that Aegis was telling me was bad? I can't trust Aegis. Can I trust Aegis? I don't know what's going on, and so possibly go somewhere else work with a different set of heroes kind of thing.
Right.
New idea. Seattle is another major occult situation, and the team goes there.
I mean, the character I'm playing over on Devil's Luck is basically Mallory, but she's got a cybernetic arm. So she traveled time, lost an arm. She's over in Seattle now. Believe me.
I mean, to survive Seattle, you do need a cybernetic arm,
I find it helped.
True.
especially when you're going down the back alley stairs. Man,
You know, but Puyallup's a rough town, you know?
yeah, that's where I might be moving to.
Oh, buddy.
To be fair, though, most of the people there, when you live there, are fine. It's when the people come for the fair that people get kind of angry.
They just really want to do the Puyallup.
Now I'm gonna have that song stuck in my head for the rest of the night.
You're welcome. I'm so sorry. Oh, God, now it's in mine.
Do the Puyallup.
Puyallup. Yep. Oh, anyway. Sorry, folks.
So, what's your favorite part of the system?
I just like how physically the playbooks are set up, because it gives you all of the options for creating and customizing a character, but everything is explained and laid out on the sheet. So like you pick out your abilities and you don't have to mark anything down, you just circle and shit, and then you have your moves and you just check off what moves you have, and it's a constant reference directly in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to go searching through the playbook or through the core book.
One of my absolute all-time favorite things about Powered by the Apocalypse is that concept of the playbook that's everything. Specific to masks, though, as a twist on that, one of my favorite things about masks is that the labels, what would be like attributes or stats in any other PBTA game, they're not fixed. And it's not just like you have them and they go up over time. I love the fact that it's fluid in this game, that you're constantly shifting what your character, how they see themselves, and then that's reflected mechanically in what they can do in the system. That is a really, really cool idea to me, and I love seeing that fluidity. That was really exciting for me.
Something that took some getting used to for me was, that being able to shift the labels and stuff, and the fact that you don't completely have control over how the labels get shifted. The other players do too, which I admit was kind of awkward when people were lowering Wainwright's superior when a lot of his abilities trigger off of his superior.
I think my favorite part is how all the abilities are very undefined. So it's like we could have two Dooms in the same season and they'd become totally different. It really opens up like if we did have two Dooms going simultaneously, you're not allowed to, I don't think, right? Have two of the same playbook going simultaneously.
No, I believe Masks adheres to that.
To do that.
One of a single type, but
there is technically a way to do that, but you're taking the joined playbook, and then you're just, but it's worse because instead of only you marking Doom for yourself, the joined, if either of you use something or do something that would cause you to mark Doomed, you both mark your Doom track.
Are you sure you don't want me to play the joined in the other game?
It's a cool playbook, but no, stick to those core. Stick to the core. Believe me, yeah. There's one thing we definitely ran into and tripped up on this game, and that I would definitely recommend for anybody running Masks. Limit your playbook selection for your players. Keep that shit narrow. The ones in the core book are built to work together.
The thing that kind of threw me that I had to get used to is that failure is a good thing.
Yeah. That was something I appreciated.
I like the idea that you learn from your mistakes.
That, yes.
It works really well for teenage characters, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I also like the idea that, yes, you have these abilities, but they're very undefined. And the only thing that divides them is the dice and the player's imagination. And even then, technically, it's only the player's imagination, just because you didn't successfully do it this time. It doesn't mean that you can't do it. It's when I tried to. It's not that. Oh, I want to shoot. It was in the one shot, in the first one shot. I believe Kid Target tried to shoot a net arrow at somebody. It wasn't that Kid Target missed. It's not the arrow just didn't go off, but he hit a character right in the middle of the forehead with a net arrow that didn't go off. And the idea that it's not that you were bad or something. It's just something wasn't quite there, and you'll have to adjust for next time.
Well, that's another thing that I really like about the way the character sheets are set up and the way the playbooks work is it says directly in your playbook, in every single playbook, that you can, when you advance, you can take moves from another playbook, which that's
Not always.
well, not always, but in most of them, most of the ones I've looked at. But the capacity is there to take moves from another playbook, which is not something I've encountered quite very often in other games. Where you can it's basically like in D&D, you have a paladin, you have paladin abilities, and in order to get like wizard abilities, you have to multi-class, you have to sacrifice something. With this, it's just part of the advancement scheme that you can go to this other playbook and they have a cool move that you want to try, and you can take it, which is how I got Sebastian.
Oh yeah, like half my moves were out of other playbooks. So, oh yeah. Yeah, I mean that's something that I just love about Powered by the Apocalypse in general. But like that whole narrative function of like, well, I rolled a 6 or less. Now the GM just gets to take a move, as hard or soft as they want, and that is for games that are narrative heavy and have like the players that can carry that load. It is tremendous narrative freedom to just be like. One of my favorite things, my favorite Powered by the Apocalypse cliches is I go to do something completely asinine, botch the roll entirely, and the GM just like smiles and says like, oh yeah, it goes off without a hitch. Hang on, I'm going to mark a clock. There we go. Don't worry about that. Something just happened somewhere. Don't worry about it. We'll get back to it. And it's just like, I love that stuff.
Yeah, the idea that sure, you did it this time, but there's going to be consequences to it.
Yeah.
And I like that about Mask specifically. I like that there is an emphasis of narrative over mechanics. Like the mechanics are there specifically to support the narrative. I encountered that with other games, but it's because of the group I'm with. Like when I'm playing Sunday mornings, when I'm playing Legend of the Five Rings, that is a mechanics heavy game. Like there's a lot. But because of the group I'm with, we are all very heavy narrative people. So most of our game is role playing. It's the interaction back and forth. It's me and the unicorn guy arguing all the time because he's a unicorn. And
making me interrogate a chicken.
You wanted to interrogate that chicken.
Con is my pet now. You will respect him. Actually, it's her. She came from the Henry. But yeah, just having mechanics in place that even when you screw up on a roll, that increases the narrative, that increases your interaction with other players and with the storyteller, and it creates whole new dynamic scenes of your interactions. Even when your labels shift up and down or you take conditions, that is an excuse to be more in character.
Yes, I love the condition system. I think it's an awesome like touchstone of like, where's my character at right now? Oh, okay, and then I can like use that to.
I am angry.
It's a great prompt.
I like the.
I will aggressively eat this pizza.
Like how to clear the conditions. It's never do something pleasant. It's always like you're releasing pent up anger or something like that. You know, it's never a good thing to clear those conditions. You know,
it fuels more drama to get back that mechanical benefit, and that's awesome.
Yeah,
because it's like, very. Yeah, go ahead.
Just like the conditions actually helped shape a lot of the way Dreamcat progressed too, because I kept marking guilty. She kept doing things that made her guilty, and that kind of feel the desire of I need to protect these people, I need to defend these people. So yeah, like it works so well.
Plus the art's good.
Yeah, that's
Pretty
really
book.
good.
It's
So-
very comic booky.
Yes.
Pretty book.
My favorite, one of my favorite things in it is the team pool. Is the idea that you can help your teammates, but you have to actively do so to give them that team point.
That thing we kept forgetting that we had.
See, that's something I will talk about in a moment when we get to the next part of this question. But yeah, it's that idea that actively working together, helps each other. Of course, you can do it selfishly, but you literally have to spur your teammates to do so. That's close. I mean, other than all the other stuff that was already mentioned, was probably one of my favorite mechanics.
I think I did that once. Used it selfishly.
I don't think I ever did.
Like,
Huh.
I
So-
might
so-
have early
so-
on, I think.
sometimes it can feel awkward, character-wise, to try and use it selfishly. Sometimes,
And it's also like it's that very unique situation of like I need a label shift here, and it's like that's not always enough to quite do it, or like your label's already at an extreme in a lot of cases. So,
Yep.
but I will say that the team pool mechanic is a really interesting hack on the idea of what's normally the aid role in other PBTA games. Like this is a very like quick, fast, elegant, and very like comic booky kind of solution to that. It's just like here's some points. If you can spend them narratively, go nuts. You don't have to worry about rolling dice for it. I think that's a lot faster and more interesting than aid rolls are. Aid/interfere, I believe it's called.
And labels can be in themselves kind of unpredictable. Like coming in, I thought I was going to be concentrating on things like superior and like savior. I was going to be like assessing the situation, and I was going to be defending people. But because of the way my powers worked, I always had to roll on freak because I was always unleashing my powers, because the way I would describe them would not necessarily fit. I actually had to come up with fly swatter as a means for me to do directly engage an enemy. I couldn't think of any other way that this scrawny little magician would directly engage an enemy.
I mean, you threw that Hadouken that one time. That was pretty fucking like.
But that
pretty
was
direct.
like that required fly swatter because that was my fastball special.
That's fair enough.
And actually, that required fly swatter and Sebastian because the first time I tried to do a fireball, I set a library on fire.
Who
We
who doesn't?
all-
Yeah, whomst among us has not set a library on fire? It just happens.
I mean, Cliff shot a computer.
Yeah.
That's like setting a library on fire.
Well, it was in the library.
That I kind of set on fire. It was to get rid of demons.
So, what's the part of the system that you would change if there's any?
Not that part. I keep that part. That part was adorable.
Um, for me, it's a weird love-hate thing about this. I feel like part of me feels like the moments of truth are a little too strong. Like taking complete narrative of what's going on at the moment. Like I love the mechanic, and every character gets a chance to like say, I've really come into who I am as a superhero. Part of it feels a little like the storyteller could have a little bit more control over those moments of truth, would kind of help things out, at least narrative wise, for the future.
Yeah, I think in future circumstances, when I have another opportunity to do a moment of truth, instead of it being I power up and defeat this guy, which is kind of what I did with Gast, I want it to be more of I power all of us up to set us up to defeat this guy, so that there's more wiggle room and there's more narrative happening. Because you're right, that the moment of truths are kind of having that much full control, you kind of panic and get things done as quick as possible because you you kind of feel like you're hogging things. And yeah, there was a lot more that could have happened with me turning into a demon, or with the dragon fight, or any of that we kind of cruised on through because we were all unleashing our moments of truth.
Yeah, and also sort of falls into that. Okay, I can only use it once, so I want to hold on to it for a time when it really matters. Oh wait, this is the second to last session and I haven't used it yet, kind of thing. Which is, you know, how that went for 3 of us.
I will say, just to echo something Rain said, like, certainly, I guess, yeah, like, I feel really shitty. I feel like I'm tooting my own horn here, but, like, yeah, I mean, I used mine to get information. Was like, I felt really good, like, you know, about that. So I really liked how it worked out for me. I don't know. Sorry,
There's a finesse to it that, right. Like when you're not, I had no idea how a moment of truth worked beyond what the text told me, which the text says you take control of the scene. I'm like, so when basically I was given free reign to do whatever the hell I want, and I had this mental image of how I become a demon, that I tried to follow that, but I was also like, I have social anxiety, like really bad social anxiety. So when the spotlight's on me and I have control of everything that's happening, I panicked. So I was like, let's get through this as quick as possible. I'll just eat his magic.
I thought it was cool.
It worked. It was great.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
As far as things like I don't like about the system or that I would change, like really the only thing mechanically that I take issue with in the system is that there's just enough inconsistency on who picks which labels to change. Because sometimes it's the GM and sometimes it's the player affected. And then sometimes it's in one instance it's a third party. And like I had to make a cheat sheet to just go like, okay, hang on, which ones are when? And I looked at it and it's like, okay, it's mostly the person getting changed picks, except in like these 3 scenarios. I wish that was streamlined.
And one of those scenarios basically turned out to be the most common time labels were shifted.
Well, I think that's something
that's us, honestly. Yeah. Like, if I might editorialize for a bit, we were not playing rules as written. That's on us.
Yeah. And I think for me, I could have done a lot more because, like, influence is a bigger deal in the game than I was giving it credit for, and I feel like we could have done, Buffy in particular, could have done a lot more with the influence we had over other people, to, like, during narratives and during gameplay, to not just shift labels around, but to shift roles around and to shift the way that you would react to something. We didn't, again, I'm saying I wasn't here for the full thing, but I didn't play with influence a whole lot.
We didn't, honestly. The NPCs didn't, we didn't. It was a whole mechanic we barely interacted with. In much the same way that, like, the NPCs, like, anybody who's an adult can roll up on you and just be like, yo, this is who you are. And there's a mechanical effect on that. It came up, like, you could count on one hand, like, how many times that was really a thing. See, it's just not something we really interacted with.
Yeah. And part of it is that I feel awkward doing it. Like, just rolling up this adult. And in some cases, kind of interrupting the flow of what's going on and being like, no, this is how you feel and this is who you are.
Which, in retrospect, is funny as hell because I picked the one playbook that relied entirely on influence.
And I picked a book where no adults have any influence over me.
Again, I just would like to stress to people who are new to running masks, do not let anybody use at most more than one playbook from outside of the core book. There is if you go and read some of those extended books that come out outside the core book, they will tell you at the top, hey, maybe 2, but definitely just to keep it to 1. All of these are designed to break something fundamental to the game. Don't put multiples in your game. We were just
and I would recommend that if you're brand new, stick to the core just because there's plenty of there to work with to make any kind of character. And I discovered through playing it that the other playbooks are they add complications, and that's the point. They make life complicated because they're supposed to. If you have a narrative that extends further out than what that one playbook can handle, then yeah, go into an advanced playbook and dink around with that for a while. But when you're learning, stick with what's core, because it'll give you plenty of room to play with, and it won't fuck you up.
Yeah, or the other moves won't be so narrowly defined that you never end up using them. Because
Yeah.
I think pretty much the only one I used more than once or twice was my always prepared, my gadgets that let me use superior instead of freak for unleash my powers. And that even specifically said you can't use the same thing more than once. So I had to keep track of, okay, can't just use a drone. I used that, first week and stuff like that, and figure
I
out.
have a document of private notes for Shadowgast that I had to come up with for who was influencing her, who she wanted to influence so that she could gain their respect, circumstances where they might meet, locations where they might meet, because I had to kind of, like, half of this was me just being over prepared, but I was juggling a lot trying to figure out who would matter to her. Like, starting play, I had Masquerade, and that's it. And that's because I had to have Masquerade to have any excuse as to how she was found. And then I was like, well, okay, Pinnacle is a duh, because Nerdy and I decided beforehand that was going to be her mother. But after that, I was like, it almost sounds like I need to gain influence over other players just so I had that interaction often enough to gain that respect. But the way it's worded, it's very, you want respect from adults, not from other players.
Yeah.
And so trying to piecemeal come up with all these other NPCs that I could gain respect from and then never doing it was like, I have document of work of nothing.
So I have some feelings on this, because especially since this is technically what I was doing, was changing some of the rules and some of the way things work. The big thing to me was team points, and again, it's a big mechanic, but it's easily forgettable having that team pool, or even at some points just I'd rather have the potential. There's not a whole lot of, other than succeeding or possibly succeeding, a whole lot of motivation necessarily to help each other, to spend that team point and help each other.
Mm-hmm.
There is and there isn't. Like,
it depends on stakes. I feel, like it depends on the stakes of the scene.
So,
but
the narrative impact, like, we had a great narrative moment when it was me and Dreamcat and Kid Target setting off that fireball.
For example.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, it can be great. One of the things that I added, and partly because it makes way more sense for Power Rangers to have, is a motivation to spend more team points. When I did that, and it's something that I really liked how it worked. When we did the one shot and tested it, I like that there was definitely this motivation to consider spending the team point, even if you want that potential. I felt like that fell short. There's some points where I wish there was a little more clarification on what they wanted, or the idea, and part of it is just me and my own forgetfulness when it comes to some of the rules and stuff. But there's some things where they want to leave it open for narratives and stuff, but they don't, it doesn't feel like they clarify enough. And part of it is to, like, directly engage a threat. We often think of it as one punch or something, or taking on one single character, because that's how we're trained in a lot of RPGs like D&D, where it's one sword swing is 9 seconds. Well, technically that's not really what they want with the directly engage. That, like, rolling a directly engage could be an entire firefight or an entire round of a boxing match. But they, especially on the sheet, they don't clarify it enough, it feels like on the basic move sheet, the one that we're often looking at, it feels like, And part of it is just me letting you roll with what you want and stuff. But it feels like they don't elaborate enough because they want you to feel free to do what you want, and that's those just a couple places that I had some thoughts on.
I actually brought my freak up as high as it could go because I was rolling to unleash my power so often.
I will say that that's also something that's a very, very, very common pitfall in basically every Powered by the Apocalypse game, because harm moves work that way in just about all of them, and it's something where because this is like, it's like you said, it's so different from something that is very simulationist oriented, like a D&D, like a Pathfinder, that kind of stuff, where it's like I move to here, I swing my arm, and that's how the dice rolls are tracked on that level. Whereas PBTA stuff is way more fluid with that, and if you're not used to it, yeah, it trips up new GMs to that style a lot. I used to have struggle with it for the longest time, trying to like keep my head wrapped around it.
Yeah,
so like
new
I definitely
players.
feel that for new people to the system.
I will say that the loose emphasis of combat for the sake of narrative, like that helped me in Legend of the Five Rings, because Thurrock gave me an opportunity to come up with something new in Legend of the Five Rings when we encountered the Kenku. And I like my thought was, well, I can create a fighting style and maybe a school, the Kenku school. And he's like, okay, well, that has to be an overarching thing. How would you go about doing that? And that was cooking in the back of my brain. I'm like, well, how would I do that if this were mass? I would just kind of describe these movements that were what I was intending, and then Throck would tell me what to roll. That's okay, so I'll do that. And I came up with this really badass move that ended up being part of one of my ninja moves that kind of defined the start of this style, and it was because I was thinking in masks instead of L5R. So masks kind of it when you are used to more mechanically inclined games and more crunchy games, you're trained to pay attention to that crunch and to track it constantly. With masks, it kind of breaks that training, so that when you go back to those games and you have that narrative focus with your group, it doesn't get in the way. It's literally you develop a whole new trust for your DM to take care of, I'm going to have you roll for this, instead of thinking, okay, I'm going to have to roll for this.
Yeah, the more narrative focus definitely took me way out of my comfort zone.
Yeah. I feel like for newer players, if they're not aware of this is very much heavy RP, it can be very difficult. This is extremely RP heavy. Like even doing a move is all RP. It's not I do this much damage. It's very much tell us what you're doing and how the scene unfolds.
Yeah. And then this one especially, because this one isn't like Urban Shadows or Monster of the Week, where there is things like harm and a damage tracker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
But Sonic has a comment in the chat that actually relates to that. I can totally tell you how it works. I know how a fight ends in this game. There is a damage tracker of a sort.
yeah, technically there is, and technically it's all just on the GM to be like, oh hey, they take 3 to 5 hits technically.
Well, sort of. So what it is major NPCs have conditions like PCs do. They don't have as many as we do. Like a Skeletor has like 5, but like a little bullshit lieutenant guy, he's got like 2. And in the same way, when your conditions fill up and you got to bounce out of a scene, it's the same thing for them. So it does kind of work very much in that regard. And so to answer Biosonic's question, like, yeah, if you're fighting like a threat and not like a mook, that's how you take those threats out. Is that you do things when you exchange harm with them, they're also supposed to be marking like their conditions essentially.
Yeah.
And that can take them out of a fight.
Yeah. But it doesn't. What is kind of saying is that it doesn't have as much of a harm tracker, especially for your characters. It's kind of, did I fill up on conditions, or did I roll a 10? Do I want my character to be out of the scene on the powerful blow? And it really works for superheroes. Because in comic books, Superman can go through a building and get back up, right? You know, Batman too, and he doesn't even have invulnerability. So like, it works for the system and stuff, but it does make it harder, a little bit harder. You're not tracking a legit thing for the players or as much of a legit like HP for the characters, or even to a certain extent the bad guys. But it also changes how you interact with them, I think, as players, because you don't know, is this guy a mook, or is he going to be a little bit harder to take down, or...
Yeah. Like, the ambiguity of a lot of stuff in Mask is both a great thing and a what the fuck thing.
Mm-hmm.
It is a fundamental shift in how you play role-playing games. It's like,
Yeah.
it's the one thing I try to warn people about PBTA, about, like, this is the thing I won't sugarcoat. These do not play like the games you're used to. They have a fundamentally different undergirding. Once you're used to it, it's awesome. If you're not, it can be a nightmare. Because you have to change so much about how you think about how you approach things. Because, like, even just fundamentally the idea of, like, directly engage a threat, like, it's not necessarily intuitive, but, like, if you read through the book, one of the things they really stress and emphasize in there is, like, no, a threat, something that is actually a problem. If it's like a dude with a gun going freeze and it's like, I control gravity, right, that's not a threat to me. You know?
If you're the Flash and you get mugged, you know, it's not a problem.
Oh no, my one weakness, small knives.
But it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. The slow knife does pass. It doesn't work that way in any other, like, style of game. So it's a lot to wrap your brain around, for sure. And yeah.
And it's one of those things that I appreciate about the game, but I'm glad I kind of had the background with my Sunday group before I joined, is because it is so narrative heavy and because it is so role play heavy, you have to not quickly, but relatively quickly learn trust for the people you're playing with, which is where Lines and Veils is really, really key. But you're literally you're having more instances where your character can become vulnerable or can become angry, and it's all spur of the moment stuff. It's all improv, so it's all yes and when you're put into that situation where it's constant back and forth throughout the entire episode, if you're not prepared for that narrative, it can get kind of overwhelming. When I first started playing with the Sunday crew, it was overwhelming to me, like, to a significant degree. I was having social anxiety almost every Sunday playing that game, but the more I got to know like Solomon and Miss Misery and Stinkrat, and the more that we kind of interacted with each other, I kind of learned to trust them with the Lines and Veils. They were respecting my boundaries and they were respecting each other's boundaries, and we were finding that common ground. And every now and then Throck would stop us and say, you know, it's getting kind of heated. Is everybody okay with where their characters are going? That's kind of built into Masks. And it's kind of a key component to how the game works, having that narrative with one another and having that interaction and having safety tools. So when you're first entering Masks and you don't have that background, it can be overwhelming. So it's kind of good to know that as you're going in, you are going to want to establish that trust as early as you can, because it will be of benefit to you. The game will be more fun if you know that you can trust your other players.
I am actually really curious to go around the table real quick. Was I the one person here who had extensive experience with, like, a Powered by the Apocalypse game?
I didn't, outside of the one shot I did before that.
I played a couple of sessions before. Yeah. I mean, so I've watched a lot of it before actually coming into this game, so I understood the mechanics and how it can flow very well. So I've seen it in action and very briefly interacted with it, so I had an idea of exactly what I was getting into.
I didn't know what PBT was before this game.
Welcome, friend.
I have had a lot of experience with all sorts of different role-playing systems. Powered by the Apocalypse is one that I had less experience with, but like still knew what the deal was. And Mask specifically, I'd never played before the holiday one shot that we did.
I think for me, the games that I have the most experience with are D20 systems, so like D&D, and the Roll Under system, because I played a lot of Warhammer, and I'm playing Legend of the Five Rings, and I played a lot of 40K.
Nerdy, but how about you?
No. So I wanted to play Mask for a while. I bought the game, and I had originally read through most of it. And then I went and I played Fate, and then I played. There was a few one-shot systems in there. The one-shot, some D, a little tiny bit of D&D. Then I ran Buffy. We played Leverage.
Yeah. But you'd never this stuff before.
And I never touched it. We did a few other things, and then I went, oh hey, I want to run another game. What? And I have a tendency to just go, what do I have on my list? Oh hey, I wanted to really play that game, so let's do that. And then I have a tendency to just kind of jump into it, which is exactly what I did with this and Promethean. And I didn't refresh as well as I should have at the beginning. And I didn't realize how much I had forgotten from that original read, and having read learned several other systems in the way. But no, I hadn't had a lot of experience with Powered by the Apocalypse.
I get it. I knew about Masks before I knew about this game, but only because a long time ago on another server, it was a D&D centric server, and I was asking people, are there other games that don't use the D20 system? Because I was kind of curious about it.
Oh, my friend.
And they said, go to this link. This is a pretty cool game. So I clicked on the link and I downloaded the PDF that was attached to it, because it was directly from, I have all those games now. It was from the Magpie official site. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, this game tells me nothing. It wasn't the game. He sent me the PDF for the playbooks. He actually sent me the rules of the game. So I was like, this game makes no sense to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure I have like 3 that my RPG PDF folder is like 3 gigabytes of games that are D20 systems at this point. So, I mean, at some point, I just decided that I wanted to play as many systems and games as I could, rather than play D&D all the time.
Don't play D&D. Join us over here. It's weird.
I've gotten so bad about it. I have over the last 2 years bought so many systems.
No dice.
That I have now developed my own system that I'm going to be putting into a game.
Look, here's the thing. Most of those games I either haven't read or I haven't played, and I keep looking at other ones going, but I want to play this sometime in the future, and I want to do this, and I want to do that.
That is exactly my problem.
And then I hacked another game to play something else instead of, even cracking open some of them. I just bought the Humble Bundle for Dark Heresy, and I still haven't opened any of them books.
Same. I have the Humble Bundle too.
So, I mean, because it's just the idea of, at some point, I'm probably going to want to play this. Why don't I just buy it now? And then it just sits there, and I'll eventually scroll through my list of games and go, oh, hey, what's this?
The only game that I will literally drop
if I may,
everything. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Just to cut in real quick. We are kind of coming up on time here. I just wanted to say if there was anything else we wanted to do before we ran out of time to wrap up on stuff. As much as I love talking about other RPGs, just wanted to make sure we didn't run out of time if there's anything else we wanted to cover before we sign off forever.
Are there any other Masks or Aegis related questions hanging out there in the ether?
Should I tell them about the thing I told you before?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah.
What's the thing?
Fabricator hacked our system on Roll20 and left a message.
Yeah, log into your Roll20s.
What?
What?
What is this nonsense? I didn't log into Roll20. I told you. I said at the end of the last stream, I'm not a superhero anymore. I don't have to log into anything. What is this nonsense?
What is going on?
Is there any way we can show this on stream? I don't think there is.
I'm not really set up for it. No.
I'll take a screenshot. I'll throw it into the Discord.
Yes, that works. Yes, but you are right. We are kind of out of time, so we should probably sign off for the night. One last time. Wainwright, who are you and where can everybody find you?
I'm Adam. You can find me on Twitter at starsaber_222.
Dreamcat.
Hi, I'm Michi. You can find me on Twitter at Michisaurus. You can also find me in the Discord. And coming up in the next season, you'll be able to find me in Scum and Villainy, being run by Fox. And the Millennium Knights being run by Nerdy, and playing in our L5R campaign on Sundays with Rain. I also sell soap, and hang on, there's a command for that now.
So proud.
I make and sell soap. Oh my god. Oh my god. Laptop, please cooperate. What are you doing? There we go. There we go. Okay. So yeah, that's me.
Gee.
Malice.
Sorry, too busy being mad at Rain because that was a great joke. Hi, I remain Fox Barrett at Fox_Barrett on Twitter, where you can find me ignoring Twitter because, oh god, it's so busy right now. You guys, the great thing about these glasses is they're hiding the bags because there's been so much planning going on. What the hell do you do, Fox? I am not got my notes open because I was trying to. Actually, you know what I'll stall with? Go down to our Discord. Go to the Masks channel. You'll see the image of what got hacked into our Roll20, which it's very good. Make sure you go check that out. But now I can get my notes open to be like, oh, Masks Ages Shield of Earth. I'm not on that anymore.
Yes, also sprayed a little symbol on it.
Emissaries of Avithna, Sunday nights at midnight, most nights here. We've been having some trouble getting the gang together, so it's been kind of bumpy. We're working on that. But you know, Sunday nights, come look for us. Hopefully we'll be there. Also Sunday nights at 8 Eastern, I am over on Devil's Luck Gaming with Throck and Zed playing the hell out of Shadowrun. We went Coen Brothers so hard last time. Oh god, it started at Reservoir Dogs where we tried to kill each other, and then it ended at Coen Brothers with somebody. Well, I don't want to spoil what happens to their brain pan, but it's not good. Come check it out. We're gonna die. Coming up on the channel, I have got Monday nights. I'll be producing, running, organizing everything with our new one-shot series, side quests. A lot of the slots are full. Boy, that game is going quick. So if you want to get in there and run something, we have like 2 slots open right now for GMs and a handful for players. Come check it out. Come yell things. I will try to get you in there as best I can. Do what you can. And then finally, starting September 7th, I am going to be running our Scum and Villainy campaign, Stars Asunder, with our own Michi, who is going to be a space bastard, along with a handful of other space bastards. As they get up to crimes in space. That first episode we're gonna do something a little different. We're gonna do some Session 0 stuff and get things underway, because between here and there is a gigantic charity stream, which I figure I'll let Nerdy talk about. But like, boy oh boy, I'm all over that. I'm running a Dungeon World game and I'm in a Star Trek game with motherfucking Joe Sondow. Which, how did that happen? I don't know. I don't care. But yeah, if you've ever been on Twitter and be like, boy, that Riker does sure Google for weird shit. Yeah, that guy. So, gonna be great. Come check it out. So I'm a mod on the Discord. You can come in there and you just yell now, and you can get me because I'm a mod. I have to respond. You don't have to have gay feelings anymore. I'm for the people now. And sometimes I write things for the Patreon, but not right now because everything is wrapped up in the charity game. Yeah, and I don't sleep enough, so that's me.
Wild.
Yes, hi, I'm Wild Engineer at Wild Engineer on Twitter. You can find me starting on Tuesdays on Greyhawk Channel for some D&D. On Thursdays, I'll be doing another game with Teddy. I'll let her explain that. On Fridays, I'll be running my own Masks game starting next season. Yeah, that's at the very convenient time of 12:30 a.m. Eastern, I believe. And let's see. Oh, I'll also be doing some of the stuff during the charity stream. I'll be doing a midnight stream on Sunday for some Girl Underground, and you could catch me on the side quests also. For on October 7th, I am running a horror one shot. If any of y'all would like to join, that should be some pretty good fun. So yeah.
All right. Shadowcast.
I am Rain Hayes. You can find me on Twitter at Rainghost, surrounded by X's. You can also find me on Dungeon Masters Guild, where I just released a bunch of new products. And where coming up real soon, I will have a package of 10 subclasses that are geared towards the Guilds of Ravnica. You can also find me Sundays playing Legend of the Five Rings. Coming up this season, you'll find me Fridays playing Masks in Wild's game. And Mondays, I will be playing in... what's it called? Hard Nights in District 10, I think it's called. But it's the Ravnica 5e game with Zed as our DM. Other than that, I'm seriously contemplating, not this season, but next season, doing a side quest episode for Liminal.
I mean, if you want a slot on the side quest calendar, go get it now. There are 2
That's
open
what I'm
slots.
saying. That's why I'm saying next season, because I have nothing planned.
Oh, next season.
Else,
sorry.
But nobody else is interested in Liminal, and that's my game. That's the game I would drop anything to play.
I don't know anything about it, so like, hey.
It's so good.
Yeah.
I can only see its prices.
Oh, and the name of that game is Dark Knights in District 10.
Thank you.
Got your mod back.
Yeah, hi. I'm Nerdy Teddy. You can find me on Twitter procrastinating on the things that I should be doing. Retweeting stuff and most, memes and whatever else I get up to on there. Otherwise, you can find me this weekend playing in a couple of things. Die Laughing with Nerdburger Craig, and I will be around the charity stream. I already forgot how to pronounce it.
Raices, Texas.
Yes. And that we're raising money. They help. They help with law costs and all that stuff. I am blinking hard. I am tired. Sorry, but I will be on that. I will be on the first side quest on Monday, playing Airlock, and then of course the system there's the thing I keep talking about, my hacked version of Powered by the Apocalypse starts Thursday. It's Power Rangers-esque, called Millennial Knights. I am more and more excited. They've planned out what their costumes look like and stuff. There's now pictures in the chat and stuff, and I get more and more excited as they plan stuff out. So I can't wait. We are going to raid Scraticus, so we will send you over there. This is the last time for A.E.G.I.S, but most of us will be seeing you around. Come hang out in the Discord, come hang out in the chat, and come See us play more games. Bye.